Devinci's been a little slow to expand its 29er lineup, but the Quebecois brand caught up this year with big wheeled versions of the Spartan and Troy. The Troy LTD we tested in southwest Utah sports the same 140mm travel full carbon frame as the rest of the lineup, but receives a reduced offset 160mm fork for extra front end fun. Where to start, right?
I'm still not sure what to think about this bike.
What do you mean you're not sure what to think about it? The thing rules.
Well, it's just like, most bikes I ride, I'm like, okay, this is the thing that this bike is for. This is what it's really good at.
Yeah.
And this one, there was no one thing that really stuck out at me like, this is what the Troy does.
This is what the Troy is for.
Yeah.
That's because the Troy's for everything.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what's going on here.
I'm with you guys. I had to take a second run on this, and we sat down to talk about it. And I think the answer to that, what of this everything is it good for, is, yeah, it's everything.
Great job.
Great job. Nice job. You're nice. Narrow right down.
So
we're so good at our job.
But it's the same thing. We ran into the same thing with the Spartan 29.
Yeah.
Like, we had to go back out and do it again. And I think it's this do everything kind of a bike.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to lump myself in with you guys because I loved it off the bat, and it's like on my short list of one of the favorite bikes I've ridden here at Bible this year. Like, I immediately get on that bike and I feel this just sense of like, it's got my back. It climbs well, that's great, it's efficient, it doesn't make me feel like I'm suffering all the time. But then when I start to go downhill on it, like, it just encourages me to push it, like really drive through corners, pop off the things. I'm not the greatest jumper in the world, and like it like encourages me to do that stuff. And like, I don't know, it's just a bike that makes me feel secure, and like and that makes me have more fun in the end, and that's what I really like.
For me, that security, I think, came from the bike's stiffness. It's a very like rigid feeling chassis. I feel like even though it doesn't have a ton of travel, I can smash it into stuff, and I don't have to worry about the frame flexing weirdly or feeling like it doesn't know where it's going. Yeah. It's gonna do what I need it to do.
And that stood out for me too, where it's this bike that on the first half of our ride, we're climbing, doing this undulating kind of Southwest Utah type stuff, and it felt absolutely at home. It felt like a normal trail bike. It didn't feel like it was this new breed of long travel, like chunder only type of bikes. But then when you get it into that long travel 29er territory, it does not feel outgunned.
Yeah, and as Palmer was saying, that none of that is to say it can't play around. This bike is a really nice supportive mid-stroke. It definitely can pop and whip and jump and manual off things.
Yeah, and that's what I think. It's good at like doing kind of both. It feels like rugged and bruisery in a way, but at the same time, it's very maneuverable and like easy to manage. It's not like cumbersome.
Devinci's signature stiffness is present on the Troy, but gone is the brand's historically ultra-progressive, somewhat heavily damped rear suspension. Setting up the Troy with more than 30% sag resulted in frequent bottom outs, but each tester found a happy place and levied no complaints against the suspension performance once they got there.
And as bikes have been getting longer and slacker, this year in particular, with some of the bigger 29ers, I've really noticed the forward weight shift needed to get some of those bikes to corner well. And this one felt really intuitive to me. I didn't feel like I was having to move my hips forward. I could just weight the front wheel the way I normally would, the way I intuitively do, and the bike would just carve around corners really nicely.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the longest bike in the fleet as far as reach is concerned, but it does have like, reduced offset forks, which could help with some of that handling, especially at higher speeds.
And this particular one is the limited, or LTD, whatever LTD stands for, it probably can stand for anything, the GX Limited, and it's something they only do on this build, and you get a longer travel lyric fork on it. And it still doesn't, this is what's so rad about the new steep seat angle geometry, is that you can do that. You can put a longer travel fork on it and not make it a pigeonhole downhill only kind of bike.
Yeah, it's still in the realm. Like, it's not super steep, the seat angle at this fork travel. Like, it's 74 or something. But that's not like crazy bad, it's not really super slack. Like, back in the day, you'd put a longer fork on a bike and you'd be way back there off the back.
Yeah, on a 140 bike with these numbers, it was a perfectly comfortable climbing position.
My main gripe, though, is the Super Boost Plus 157 spacing rear end, which I think, honestly, I've thought about this a lot, and I feel like it's not necessary.
What's it not bringing to the table?
I think it's not bringing things like, oh, we can use shorter chainstays, because there's other bikes in our test here today that have the same length chainstays that have, regular Boost 148
And are similar travel.
with similar tire clearance.
Yeah, like this one tops out at a 2.4, and like you look at it and it's topped out. Like it probably wouldn't be a good decision to try and put a 2.5 WT, and definitely no 2.6.
Yeah, and I mean, like the chainstays are nice and short, right? They're 17 inches long, essentially, and they're like, it's a fun, playful bike, but you didn't really need 157 to get there, I don't think.
And as I think you said, it can run 27.5 plus. Personally, I don't give a shit about that. And maybe the Super Boost Plus, it contributes to the stiffness a little bit, but it's really hard to say.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like we're going to be able to pigeonhole this bike, but if I had to try, I think I would say that it's for someone looking for the functionality of a shorter travel bike. They want the pedaling performance, they want the maneuverability with sort of the feel of a longer travel bike, something that they can trust to just sort of muscle through things when it needs to.
Yeah, I think somebody who sees this growing group of long travel 29ers, and so many of them are really outliers. I mean, they're so over the top, they're so envelope pushing and enduro specific that, like, where are you going to use them? This is one that really knocks on that door, but it can be everybody's only bike. So despite its hopped up front end, the Troy is still a supremely versatile machine, with its steady, consistent feel making it unique among the rest of the mid-travel 29ers. It's suited to just about any pilot who wants a bike they can push hard and rely on for everything else. Check out BikeMag.com for the full review and the rest of the Bible of bike tests.